My daughter-in-law dropped off my granddaughter on a Friday morning and drove away before I could ask a single question. That night, I found Sophie sleeping on the hardwood floor beside the guest bed, curled up tight with no blanket, no pillow, just her thin arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to disappear. I knelt down and whispered, "Sweetheart, why aren't you in the bed?" She opened her eyes, and in a voice so small it barely carried across the room, she said, "I haven't earned the bed yet, Grandpa." Those 6 words ended one life and started another. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The call came on a Thursday afternoon. I was in my garage, elbow deep in the engine of a 1971 Chevelle SS that I'd been restoring for 3 years. Retirement project. Keeps the hands busy when the mind won't shut up. My phone buzzed on the workbench. Ryan's name on the screen. My son-in-law never called unless he needed something. "Gene, it's Ryan. Got a situation. Client emergency in Denver. Flying out tonight, back next Friday. Can Sophie stay with you?" I wiped grease off my fingers. "Of course. You know I love having her." "Great. Megan's dropping her off in the morning. Gotta run." He hung up before I could ask about allergies, medications, school schedules, anything useful. That was Ryan. Every conversation felt like he was already late for the next one. I should explain something. I spent 38 years as a pediatrician in Knoxville, Tennessee, retired 4 years ago after my wife June passed. Pancreatic cancer, fast and merciless. I'd spent nearly 4 decades examining children, and in that time, I learned to read bodies the way some people read books. Every bruise tells a story. Every flinch has a history. Every child who won't meet your eyes is keeping a secret they didn't choose to carry. But I'd turned that part of my brain off. Retirement meant no more examining rooms, no more mandatory reporting, no more sleepless nights wondering if I'd missed something. I fixed old cars now. Cars don't flinch. Friday morning, 8:15. A silver SUV pulled into my driveway. Megan, Ryan's wife, stayed behind the wheel. Sophie climbed out with a backpack, almost bigger than she was. The SUV reversed and disappeared before the girl reached my porch. No goodbye kiss. No wave. No instructions. "Hey, Soph." I bent down to hug her. Her ribs pressed against my palms. I pulled back, looked at her face. Pale. Dark circles under her eyes that a 9-year-old shouldn't have. Hair that needed washing. "Hi, Grandpa. You hungry? I've got pancake mix and about 4 pounds of bacon." She nodded. Didn't smile. That was fine. Some kids need time. In the kitchen, I cooked enough breakfast for a construction crew. Sophie sat at the table, hands in her lap, watching the plate like it might be a trap. I set pancakes, bacon, scrambled eggs, and orange juice in front of her. "Dig in, sweetheart." She didn't move. "Sophie?" She looked at me with June's green eyes. My daughter Claire had those same eyes before the accident took her 6 years ago. Drunk driver, Route 40, instant. Sophie was 3. Didn't remember her mother's face without photographs. "Grandpa, is this all for me?" "Every bit." "Want more?" "Just say the word." She ate. Not like a kid eats breakfast. Like someone who didn't know when food was coming again. Methodical. Fast. Guarding the plate with one arm while the other shoveled. She cleaned everything. Looked at me. "Can I have more bacon?" I cooked the whole pound. After breakfast, I suggested a shower. She could use my daughter's old bathroom, the nice one with the rain shower head. "Grandpa, am I allowed to use the hot water?" My hand froze on the pan I was washing. "What do you mean?" "At home, hot water is for grown-ups. I use cold, a 9-year-old. Cold showers. In East Tennessee in October. Sweetheart, you can use all the hot water in this house. Stay in there until you turn into a raisin if you want." She almost smiled. Almost. While she showered, I stood in the kitchen, gripping the edge of the counter. 38 years. 38 years of looking at children and knowing the weight loss, the guarding behavior at meals, the flinching when I moved too quickly to hand her a glass, the circles under her eyes, the question about hot water. My medical bag was in the closet. Hadn't opened it since June died. I left it there. Not yet. Don't jump to conclusions. You're retired. You're her grandfather, not her doctor. But the part of my brain I'd turned off was already running again, and it wouldn't stop. That first night, I tucked Sophie into the guest bed. Clean sheets, extra blankets, the quilt June had made with the little yellow stars. You need anything, I'm right down the hall. Okay? Okay. Good night, Grandpa. Good night, sweetheart. I went to my room, read for an hour, fell asleep around 11, woke at 2 a.m. with that instinct parents and pediatricians share, the feeling that something's wrong even when the house is silent. I padded down the hallway, pushed open the guest room door. The bed was empty. Sheets untouched. Sophie lay on the hardwood floor, curled into a ball. No pillow, no blanket, just the clothes she'd worn to bed. I knelt beside her. Sophie, sweetheart, why aren't you in the bed? She opened her eyes. No confusion, no sleepiness. She was awake, had been awake. I haven't earned the bed yet, Grandpa. My knees cracked as I sat on the floor next to her. Earned it? What do you mean? At home, the bed is for when I'm good. If I'm not good enough, I sleep on the floor. How often do you sleep on the floor? She counted on her fingers. The way she counted, one finger at a time, careful and deliberate, told me this wasn't occasional. She ran out of fingers. I picked her up. She weighed nothing. Barely 50 pounds for a 9-year-old. I placed her in the bed, pulled the quilt up to her chin. In this house, you sleep in a bed every single night. No earning, no conditions. This bed is yours. Understand? She stared at me like I was speaking a language she'd never heard. Saturday morning, I made my decision. I dug the medical bag out of the closet, set it on the kitchen table, opened it while Sophie ate waffles with enough syrup to flood a small country. Can I check something real quick? Doctor stuff. Just want to make sure you're healthy. She went rigid. Am I in trouble? No, sweetheart. Never. This is what grandpas who used to be doctors do. We worry too much. She let me check her. What I found made the waffle turn to concrete in my stomach. She was 48 pounds. At 9 years old, she should have been closer to 65. Her growth chart would show a cliff. I found bruises on her upper back, parallel lines, consistent with being hit with something flat. A ruler, maybe, or a belt, folded double. Old bruises, yellowed at the edges. New ones underneath, still purple. I kept my face neutral. 38 years of practice. All good, Soph. You're doing great. She went back to her waffles. I went to the bathroom, closed the door, gripped the sink, and breathed until I could see straight. I spent Saturday afternoon on the phone while Sophie watched cartoons. First call was to Mitchell Pratt, my old colleague at East Tennessee Children's Hospital. Mitch and I had worked together for 20 years. He'd examined more abused children than either of us wanted to count. Mitch, it's Gene. I need help. Gene Holloway. Haven't heard from you since June's funeral. What's going on? I described everything. The weight, the bruises, the sleeping on floors, the cold showers, the food guarding. Silence. For 10 seconds. Gene, you know what that is. I know. Bring her in Monday. I'll do the full workup myself. Off the books first, then we file. Thank you. Gene, be careful. This is family. Family cases eat people alive. I'm already being eaten. Second call was harder. My son, Jack, stationed in Ramstein, Germany. Air Force surgeon. 7 hours ahead. It was almost midnight there. Dad, what's wrong? I told him everything. The silence that followed stretched across the Atlantic. Claire's daughter. That son of a bitch is hurting Claire's daughter. I need money for a lawyer, Jack. A good one. Family law. Custody experience. How much? 10,000 to start. This is going to get ugly. Wiring it now. Dad, listen to me. Whatever you have to do, whatever it costs, you get her out. I will. Promise me. I promise. And Dad, don't lose your temper. Document everything. Be the doctor, not the grandfather. I'll try. Sunday was the hardest day. I didn't ask questions, didn't probe, just existed in the same space as my granddaughter and let her come to me. We worked on the Chevelle together. She handed me wrenches, got grease on her nose. For 20 minutes, she was just a kid. Grandpa? Yeah, sweetheart? How come you're so nice to me? The wrench slipped. I caught it before it hit the engine block. Because I love you. That's what grandpas do. She was quiet for a minute. Then, very softly, Dad says being nice to kids makes them weak. What do you think? I think being hard just makes everything hurt. I set the wrench down, pulled her into a side hug, careful of the bruises on her back. You're the smartest kid I know. Monday morning, Mitch examined her. I sat in the hallway outside, wearing a groove in the linoleum with my pacing. When he came out, his face told me everything. 48 pounds. Multiple contusions in various healing stages. Signs of chronic malnutrition. Vitamin D deficiency. Iron deficiency. Mild anemia. Stress fracture in her left wrist that healed without treatment. She never saw a doctor for that, Gene. My jaw locked. How old is the fracture? 4 to 6 months. She broke her wrist, and nobody took her to a hospital. He handed me the report. Everything documented. Photographs, measurements, clinical observations. I'm filing the mandatory report today. You should know that. I know. Thank you. He grabbed my arm. Gene, last thing. I asked her about the bruises. She said she fell. Classic. But then she said something else. She said, Daddy measures everything. How clean the house is, how fast I do homework. If I don't hit the numbers, there's consequences. She called it the system. The system. I drove home 20 miles over the speed limit. Parked in the driveway. Sat there for 5 minutes. Hands on the wheel, engine ticking as it cooled. Then I went inside, got my old prescription pad from the medical bag, and started writing. Not prescriptions. Notes. Observations. Everything Sophie had said, word for word. Times, dates, context, the weight, the bruises, the floor sleeping, the cold showers, the system, 38 years of documenting. My handwriting was still precise. Tuesday, CPS showed up at Ryan's house. I wasn't there, but my contact at the department, Linda Nakamura, called me afterward. Gene, it's bad. We found a padlock on the refrigerator. The girl's room has no mattress, just a sleeping bag on the floor. There's a chart on the kitchen wall, an actual printed spreadsheet tracking her daily performance. Hygiene score, homework score, behavior score. Below a certain number, she loses privileges. Below a lower number, she loses meals. A spreadsheet. He built a spreadsheet to decide if his daughter could eat. It gets worse. We found a logbook. He's been tracking her weight, penalizing her if she gains more than he thinks she should. I couldn't speak. We're recommending immediate removal. Judge can expedite a temporary custody order by Thursday. Ryan called me that night. I let it ring 4 times. You did this. His voice was shaking. Not with fear, with rage. I reported concerns about my granddaughter's welfare. She's my daughter. You had no right. She weighs 48 pounds, Ryan. She sleeps on a floor. She asked me if she'd earned the right to use hot water. That's discipline. That's structure. You people don't understand. Kids today are soft because nobody holds them accountable. She has a healed stress fracture in her wrist that nobody treated. Silence. She fell off her bike. She doesn't own a bike. He hung up. I poured 2 fingers of bourbon, stared at it, poured it back in the bottle. Needed a clear head. Clear heads win custody battles. Bourbon wins nothing. Thursday, temporary custody granted. Sophie moved in officially. 6 garbage bags of belongings. Not even boxes. Garbage bags. A child's life in hefty bags. I enrolled her in the elementary school 2 blocks from my house. Met with the principal, the counselor, her new teacher. Told them what they needed to know. She may hoard food. She may flinch. She may ask permission to do things that don't require permission. Be patient. She's learning that the world isn't what she was told. The teacher, a young woman named Miss Rivera, tore up right there in the conference room. We'll take care of her, Dr. Holloway. 2 weeks of fragile peace. Sophie slept in the bed every night now, though I sometimes found her blanket on the floor in the morning, like her body remembered even when her mind was trying to forget. She ate 3 meals a day, started asking for seconds without looking terrified. Small victories that felt enormous. Then Patricia Mercer arrived. I opened my door on a Saturday morning expecting the mail carrier. Instead, a woman in a charcoal suit stood on my porch. Silver hair, pearl earrings, posture that suggested she'd never slouched a day in her life. Behind her, a black town car idled at the curb. Dr. Holloway. I'm Patricia Mercer, Ryan's mother. I know who you are. Then you know I don't waste time. May I come in? I should have said no. But you don't learn what your enemy knows by shutting the door. She sat in my living room like she was evaluating it for purchase. Crossed her ankles. Set a leather portfolio on the coffee table. My son made mistakes. I'm not here to defend them. I'm here to correct them. Correct them how? I'm filing for custody of Sophie myself. The room tilted. You've met her 3 times. 4. And I can provide things you cannot. Financial stability, private schooling, health care, a home without. She glanced around my living room with its cracked ceiling, and 3-0-year-old carpet. Limitations. My hands trembled. I pressed them flat against my knees. I also have this. She opened the portfolio, slid a document across to me. I recognized it instantly. The Whitfield complaint, 2019. A patient's family had alleged I'd misdiagnosed their child, pursued unnecessary medical intervention, reported suspected abuse that turned out, according to them, to be a rare skin condition. The medical board had investigated for 8 months. I'd been cleared completely. But the complaint existed. This was dismissed. I was exonerated. Dismissed isn't the same as innocent, is it? A pattern of seeing abuse where none exists. A history of overstepping. And now, with your own granddaughter, the same behavior. Projection. Dr. Holloway, that's what my attorney will argue. Your son starved his daughter and beat her. My son is ill. He needs treatment, not destruction. And my granddaughter needs stability, not a 6-year-old widower living on a pension in a house that needs a new roof. She stood. The portfolio stayed on my coffee table. The hearing is November 12th. I'd suggest you prepare for the possibility that loving a child isn't the same as being able to raise one. She left. The town car whispered away from the curb. I sat motionless for 15 minutes. Then I called Jack. She's going to take her. Who? Slow down. Ryan's mother. She's rich. She's connected. She's got the Whitfield complaint, and she's filing for custody. Long pause. Dad, are you scared? I'm terrified. Good. Scared people fight harder. I'm booking a flight. Be there in 36 hours. That night I couldn't sleep. Walked through the house at 2 a.m. Checking locks, checking on Sophie. She was in the bed, asleep. The yellow star quilt pulled up to her chin, one hand resting on her stomach like she was making sure it was still full. I sat in the hallway outside her room with my back against the wall. My phone glowed. I texted Jack. She sleeps in the bed now. Every night. His reply. Then we fight for every night after this one. Wednesday, I met Vivian Chow. My lawyer occupied a small office above a Thai restaurant on Market Square. The smell of basil and garlic drifted up through the floorboards. Not exactly a glass tower reflecting the river, but Vivian had won more custody cases in Knox County than anyone I knew. She spread my documentation across her desk. Medical reports, CPS findings, my notes, Mitch's examination results. Dr. Holloway, this is the most thorough case file I've ever received from a non-attorney. I had practice. The Whitfield complaint is noise. Dismissed complaints carry no legal weight. Patricia Mercer is trying to scare you. Is it working? She smiled. Is it supposed to? Let her file. She lives in Chattanooga. No existing relationship with the child. No caregiving history. A judge will see through it. What about the money argument? She can give Sophie things I can't. Money doesn't heal trauma. Consistency does. You're the only stable adult this child trusts. That matters more than private school. I started building alliances. Not strategically, not manipulatively, just by being honest. Dorothy Perkins, my neighbor for 25 years, had seen plenty from her front porch. Dot was 74, sharp as a tack, and had opinions about everything, which she shared freely with anyone who stood still long enough. Gene. I saw that girl when she arrived. Skinny as a rail, scared of her own shadow. And I saw her last week, riding that bicycle you bought her, laughing. First time I heard that child laugh. Would you say that in court? Honey, I'd say it on the evening news. Miss Rivera, Sophie's teacher, provided school records showing rapid improvement, weight gain, social engagement, academic performance, all trending upward since Sophie moved in with me. She's a different child, Dr. Holloway. She raised her hand in class yesterday. First time. Asked a question about frogs. The whole room went silent because they'd never heard her voice. Mitch provided updated medical records. Sophie had gained 7 pounds in 6 weeks. Iron levels improving. The light was coming back into her eyes. But the piece that changed everything came from an unexpected source. Ryan's ex-girlfriend, a woman named Shelby Torres, contacted Vivian directly. I dated Ryan for 2 years before Megan. He did the same thing to me. Not physically, but the control, the spreadsheets. He tracked everything I ate, what I wore, how I spent every hour. He called it optimization. I called it a prison. She'd kept text messages, hundreds of them, screenshots of tracking apps he'd installed on her phone. His obsession with control wasn't new. It wasn't triggered by grief or stress. It was a pattern. And then, digging deeper, Vivian found the real story. Ryan's father, Douglas Mercer, had run his household the same way. Chore charts with penalties. Food as reward and punishment. Military-level inspections of bedrooms. Patricia Mercer, the elegant woman in the charcoal suit, had raised Ryan in that system. Had designed it. Actually, Douglas just enforced it. She wasn't rescuing Sophie. She was reclaiming her. November 12th. Knox County Family Court. The courtroom smelled like floor wax and old coffee, same as every government building I'd ever been in. I wore my only suit. Jack sat behind me in his dress uniform, which I hadn't asked him to wear but was glad he did. Across the aisle, Ryan sat with his attorney, Gregory Holt. Patricia sat behind them. Back straight, pearls in place, ready for war. Judge Carolyn Asher presided. Silver-haired, no-nonsense, known for asking questions that made lawyers sweat. Patricia's attorney went first. Painted a picture of a wealthy, stable grandmother. Presented the Whitfield complaint like it was a criminal record. Argued that I was projecting abuse based on professional bias. That a modest home and a pension weren't enough for a growing child. Then Vivian stood up. Your Honor, Dr. Holloway didn't project anything. He observed what 38 years of medical training taught him to see. A starving child, a beaten child, a child who slept on a floor because she believed she hadn't earned a mattress. She presented the medical evidence. Mitch's report, the CPS findings, the padlocked refrigerator, the spreadsheet on the kitchen wall, the logbook tracking a 9-year-old's weight. She played audio from Sophie's CPS interview. The room went quiet. Sophie's voice, thin and careful. Daddy has the system. If my scores are high enough, I get dinner in the bed. If they're not, I sleep on the floor and wait until tomorrow to try again. What happens if you're sick? Being sick is a -3. -3 means no dinner. What if you cry? Crying is -5. I try not to cry. I gripped the armrest. Jack's hand found my shoulder from behind. Then Vivian played her ace. She called Shelby Torres, who testified about the identical control patterns in her relationship with Ryan. She presented the text messages, the tracking apps, the optimization language, and then she turned to Patricia. Mrs. Mercer, you've described your household as structured and disciplined. Can you explain this? She projected an email. Ryan to Patricia, dated 3 years ago. Mom, the system works. Sophie's scores are improving. You were right about the food incentive model. She fights it less now. Patricia's face went white. You designed this system, Mrs. Mercer. You taught your son that love is conditional, that children earn the right to eat, to sleep in a bed, and now you want custody of the child your system nearly destroyed. I object. Gregory Holt was on his feet. Overruled. Judge Asher leaned forward. I want to hear this. Patricia straightened in her seat, tried to recover. Children need structure. The world doesn't hand you anything. I raised my son to be strong. You raised your son to starve his daughter. The room held its breath. Ryan took the stand last. His hands shook. He looked 10 years older than 34. Vivian cross-examined him. Mr. Mercer, you tracked your daughter's daily performance on a spreadsheet. It was structure. You withheld food as punishment. It was discipline. Consequences. My mother taught me. Your mother designed the system? Yes. She said it worked for me. That it would work for Sophie. Did it work for you? His jaw tightened, loosened. His eyes went somewhere far away. I was hungry all the time growing up. I thought that was normal. I thought every kid went to bed hungry when they messed up. I thought. He stopped, swallowed hard. I thought I was making her better, stronger. I thought if I just followed the system, she'd turn out. She'd be. His voice cracked. I hear her at night sometimes. Through the wall, counting. She counts her scores to see if she gets to eat the next day. She whispers the numbers. He put his head in his hands. I made my daughter count to see if she could eat. What kind of father does that? Judge Asher recessed for 1 week. Outside the courtroom, I saw Ryan on a bench, alone. Patricia had walked past him without stopping. Even Gregory Holt had gone ahead to get the car. I sat down next to him. He didn't look up. I hate you for this. I know. You destroyed my life. You were destroying hers. Long silence. A pigeon landed near our feet, pecked at nothing, flew away. My mother called it the system. I called it parenting. I didn't know the difference. You know now. Is that supposed to help? It's supposed to be the beginning of something. Therapy. Real change. Not for custody. For yourself. He looked at me. Red eyes. Hollowed out. Will she ever forgive me? I don't know, Ryan. That's her choice to make when she's ready. I stood up. My knees protested. But I'll tell you what I told every parent in my office for 38 years. Kids are resilient when the adults around them choose to be honest. Start there. He nodded once. Didn't speak again. November 19th. Judge Asher's ruling. I've reviewed all evidence and testimony. The court finds clear and systematic abuse and neglect of the minor child, Sophie Claire Mercer. She didn't soften a single word. The system described in testimony constitutes a deliberate framework of emotional and physical abuse, food deprivation, sleep deprivation, and corporal punishment were administered according to a point-based scheme designed to control every aspect of this child's daily existence. She turned to Patricia. Mrs. Mercer, your petition is denied. The evidence shows you are not a neutral party, but rather the architect of the methodology that caused this child's suffering. Your custody claim is not only denied, but noted for the record. Patricia's face went rigid. She stood, collected her portfolio, and walked out without a word. Mr. Mercer, your parental rights are suspended pending completion of a court-ordered psychological evaluation and a minimum of 12 months of therapy. Upon successful completion, the court will consider supervised visitation, not custody. Visitation. Ryan nodded. Didn't fight. Dr. Holloway, I'm granting you full legal custody of Sophie Claire Mercer. My hands gripped the table edge. Jack squeezed my shoulder so hard it hurt. However, I'm also ordering Mr. Mercer to pay $800 monthly in child support, retroactive to the date of temporary custody. This child's welfare requires financial stability, and her father will contribute to it. Outside, Jack hugged me. You did it, Dad. Yeah, you don't sound happy. I just watched a man realize he tortured his daughter using a system his mother taught him. There's no happiness in that room, only less suffering going forward. Sophie moved in permanently the following weekend. We converted the guest room into her room. She picked lavender paint. I painted it myself, got more on my clothes than the walls, but she said it was perfect. She still hoarded food for the first few months. I'd find granola bars in her pillowcase, crackers in her desk drawer, apple slices in Ziploc bags tucked under her mattress. I never took them away, just made sure there was always more in the kitchen. The nightmares came 3 or 4 nights a week. I'd hear her whimpering, rush in, find her rigid in the bed, eyes squeezed shut, whispering numbers. Soph, you're safe. You're at Grandpa's house. What's my score? There's no score. There's no system. You're safe. She'd cling to me until her breathing slowed. Some nights I slept in the chair beside her bed. My back filed complaints every morning. Ibuprofen became a food group. 3 months in, Ryan completed his initial therapy assessment. His therapist contacted Vivian with a request for supervised visitation. 1 hour. Public setting. Supervisor present. I asked Sophie what she thought. She was quiet for a long time. Is he different? He's trying to be. Will you be there? The whole time. Okay. Saturday morning. Lakeshore Park. December. Chill in the air. Sophie held my hand so tight my fingers went numb. Ryan arrived looking like someone had taken him apart and put him back together slightly wrong. Thinner. Quieter. Something behind his eyes that wasn't there before. Hi, Sophie. She pressed against my leg. Didn't respond. He sat on a bench. Kept distance. You don't have to talk to me. I just wanted to see you. The supervisor, a CPS worker named Angela, took notes on her clipboard. I'm in therapy, Sophie. I'm learning that what I did was wrong. That the system was wrong. That I hurt you. And there's no excuse for it. Not stress. Not how I was raised. Not anything. His voice broke. You deserved dinner every night. You deserved a bed every night. You deserved hot water and laughter, and a father who didn't make you earn the right to exist in your own home. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sophie watched him from behind my leg. Then, very quietly, she said, Are you eating dinner every night? Ryan almost smiled through his tears. Yeah. I am. Good. She paused. You should. Everyone should. The hour ended. Ryan drove away. Sophie held my hand all the way to the car. Grandpa? Yeah, sweetheart? Can we get ice cream? It's December. So? I laughed. First real laugh in months. Yeah, we can get ice cream. Late December. Evening light through the kitchen window, golden and thin. Sophie sat at the table doing homework. Regular homework. No spreadsheet. No scores. Just a girl and her math problems. Grandpa, what's 7 times 8? 56. Unless you're doing taxes, then it's whatever the government says. She giggled. Actually giggled. The sound filled the kitchen like something had been returned that was stolen long ago. I looked at the counter. Bills piled up. The child support helped. But raising a kid at 66 on a pension and military son's contributions wasn't exactly luxury. The roof still needed work. The Chevelle sat unfinished in the garage. Some things would have to wait. But Sophie slept in a bed every night, ate 3 meals a day, had gained 12 pounds, started making friends at school. Miss Rivera said she raised her hand almost every day now, asked questions about everything. Frogs, planets, volcanoes, why the sky was blue, a mind unclenching after years of being told that curiosity cost points. That night, after she went to bed, I stood in the kitchen holding Claire's photograph. My daughter, gone 6 years, smiling in her graduation gown. I found her, baby girl. She's safe now. She's got your eyes, your stubbornness, and your thing for ice cream in the wrong season. My phone buzzed. Jack, from Germany. How is she? Better. Gained 12 pounds. Laughed today. Asked for ice cream in December. That's Claire's kid, all right. And you? Old. Tired. Broke. Happy. Mom would be proud. I hope so. I set the phone down. Turned off the kitchen light. Climbed the stairs, knees protesting every step. Checked on Sophie. She slept in the bed. under the yellow star quilt June had made, one hand resting on her stomach, not counting, not calculating scores, just sleeping. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, more nightmares, more bills, more moments where I'd question whether a six-year-old man with a bad back and a leaky roof was really the right person for this. But tonight, my granddaughter slept in a bed she didn't have to earn, in a house where the refrigerator had no lock, and the only system was love. Sometimes that's enough. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. To hear the next story, click the link on the screen. Thank you for listening.